We're about to start. If I could please have your attention. Not come to attention, just have your attention. This has been a love affair from combat brother to combat brother and sister for a long time. A long time. These men have carried the burden of their lost brothers in combat in Vietnam, in their hearts and in their souls, and sometimes the stress of it can wear down the body. Our country wasn't polite to these veterans. They didn't get a ticker tape parade in New York like Desert Storm. They didn't get a parade through downtown Houston like when the Iraq War ended. Instead, they got vile. They had people that couldn't understand the difference between the soldier and the political war that the government puts us in. And instead, they took it out on their neighbors and their kin. This is a small way that we've been able to come together with the help of the city of Houston, Harris County, foundations, everyday people, soldiers, retirees, one-termers, combat soldiers, non-combat soldiers, their families, and the families of those who have lost a relative who's on this wall. It's a solemn and important occasion that we shall long remember with pride for the small part that we are playing. I was better at this, they would actually pay me. We are assembled here to pay tribute to the men and women of our community who have served in our United States Armed Forces, our neighbors who have fought for the defense of this country and for the preservation of our way of life. We are particularly honoring the 544 service members who gave their lives in Vietnam during that conflict and war. These men and women are worthy of far greater recognition than mere words or markers. The sacrifices they made and the deeds they performed shall be written in history and shall remain alive in our memories for generations to come. We built this monument specifically to last for generations and generations and generations to come. We express sincerely our pride and the gratitude for the task these 544 service members performed. At this time, I would like the color guard to present the colors. Please rise. At this time, we will please remain standing. Our chaplain will open us with an opening prayer. Chaplain folks, if you please come up. We came all the way in from Waco. And following that, we will remain standing for the national anthem. Everyone please uncover.
Almighty God, creator and sustainer of all life, We ask that your blessing may descend on us as we gather here in this sacred space today. We thank you for the opportunity to assemble in freedom to dedicate this monument to the honor of those service members from the greater Houston area who were killed in action in Vietnam. Holy Father, may we never forget those who made the supreme sacrifice so as to secure for our nation, for us, the blessings of life, liberty, and justice for all. May our observance this day and the days to come be a timely reminder that our freedom was purchased at a high cost, should not be taken for granted, and must never be forgotten. Bless the families and friends of those we honor today. Together may their sorrows be halved as we willingly carry this burden with them. Fill us with compassion and your grace. In your name we pray. Amen.
With the Shanahan Family Singers for giving the place. For those of you that were here with us for the groundbreak will know that there will be no music. There will be no soloist performing the national anthem the way that they think it should sound like. We will all be singing the national anthem together with this family. Please lead on. Victor, if you'll please come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Group, attend, hood, present, arm. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arm.
At this time, I'm going to bring up the Sky Pilot from the VFW Cootie National, which is the chaplain for the nation for that organization, to honor or site within the VFW, to do the missing man table. Please be seated.
The POW Remembrance Table. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POWs and MIAs. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay our humble tribute to them, bearing witness to their continued absence. The table is set for one. It is small, symbolizing the fertility of one prisoner alone against his or her oppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of purity, of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single red rose in the vase signifies the blood that many have shed in sacrifice to ensure freedom for our beloved United States of America. The rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith while awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbons worn on the lapels of thousands who demand an unyielding determination to a proper accounting for our comrades who are not with us today. The slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless fallen tears of families as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us today. The chair is empty. They are not here. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate our way home, their way home from their captors, to open the arms of their grateful nation.
Thank you, Alan, very much for that. There are two very important foundations that were critical to the success of the monetary. The Baroness Candy Cane Horn Foundation gave around $300,000 to make this happen. The Herstein Foundation, again, also ponied up large. And everyone else that I talked about earlier from the groundswell, particularly VFW Post 8790 and their auxiliary, really poured some cash in at the beginning, so we had the working capital we needed to get this thing rolling. At this time, Ben, if you could come up, Ben Gutierrez. So Ben is the El Presidente of the Vietnam Combat Veterans Association. Without him, this dream couldn't have been all pulled together. Myrna, are you here? At this time, I'd like to introduce the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, Ms. Myrna Trevino.
Thank you, Buddy. On behalf of the Secretary of the Army, I want to thank you all for being here and thank you for your service. We really do appreciate it, especially for this nation and for our country. And you were the mastermind for all of this, and on behalf of the Secretary of the Army, I would like to give you this coin for excellence and for going above and beyond. And thank you for your service so much. Thank you.
Those of you that haven't met Ms. Myrna before, she is just a whirlwind of activity and capability throughout this neighborhood, representing the United States Army. Thank you. Yeah. Did you want to say anything?
Just thanks for coming. And this is a dream that finally happened. My bubble had burst. And we're here for the guys we couldn't bring home. Thank you.
We have some representatives here from the city of Houston. You got to talk this thing straight in. So, Councilmember thank you, Cisneros, and Robert Jimbo, would y'all please come up? My tongue tiedness gets in the way. I'm so sorry.
It's such an honor to be here, honoring the ones that didn't make it back home. So I'm really appreciative to Ben for reaching out to me several years ago, and I've been able to go to some of the events over the years and to see the tremendous support that there's been for this, you know, the raising money for this, and to see, this was my first time to see it. It's beautiful. I've seen the little model. This is so much better. Doesn't it look wonderful? Congratulations to each of you who contributed to make this happen. I wanted to, before we go on to the proclamation, I bought a book at one of the events that was a tribute to all the Vietnam veteran memorials across the nation. And there's some beautiful ones. And now we have another one to add to our national collection. It's a tremendous honor that we have that here in Houston, where we have such a vibrant community of veterans, and certainly, you know, the city of Houston and Robert Dembo is our liaison for all that. And you brought the proclamation from the mayor.
Thanks. It's a great honor to be here. But before I read the proclamation, I need to talk about an incident that I had with Ben here. This about 7 years ago, I received a call from the security, and they were saying a gentleman out there wanted to talk to the mayor. And Mr. Jimbo, can you come out and talk to him? I said, no problem. He just wants support for his vision. And he invited me out to his meeting. And one time, by the way, again, I love you, man. One time, he invited me to a meeting, and they had sandwich. And he said, Mr. Demo, I want you to be the first one in line to get the sandwich. So I got me 2 sandwiches. He said, get as many you want. I said, okay, I get 3 of them. So I bit into the first sandwich, and it had no meat in it. Just no meat. I said, man, come on, man, come on, I got some meat here. But anyway, I just want to share that. Proclamation. America is the land of freedom, preserved and protected willingly and freedom by citizen soldiers. Millions have answered the call to arms and have served and sacrificed to preserve the freedom and value that Americans cherish. We honor and salute our military forces as they provide for our common defense, as we recognize their sacrifice and their family for their selflessness, dedication. The Vietnam Combat Veterans Association, and coordinated with other veteran service organizations, foundation, city group, and private citizens, to raise the necessary capital to build this monument to honor the service member who gave the last measure of devotion, and he laid down their life in Vietnam. The city of Houston joined in recognizing these 544 service members who were killed in action in Vietnam, and honor them for their service to our great nation and their family for their great loss of their loved one. The city of Houston recognized the significant and lasting contribution of service members of our armed forces. We have continued to defend our liberty, appreciate the courage and dedication, and proud to say, to commemorate this monument as a lasting testament to their life. I, Robert Dembo III, on behalf of Sylvester Turner, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proclaim November 10th, 2022, at Veteran Father Memorial Day. May God bless you. May God bless America.
Congratulations to all of you. Happy Veterans Day. But in that book I was telling you that I bought, one of the things in there that really struck me is there was a line that said, it's always a good day to thank a veteran. Every day is a good day to thank a veteran. So not just Veterans Day, every day. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, people, when we started this, we had some obelisks made that we were going to give some special people that have worked with it. I want to present these two obelisks. I'm presenting one to my general. And the other one to Bobby Smith brothers.
I'll just say a couple of things. 50 years ago today, or was it 50 years ago yesterday? Maybe it's 50 years ago tomorrow. The date doesn't matter what day of the week it was. It's the fact that it was 50 years that have gone by without the making of this monument. You know, and this is what we owe these 544. They did the ultimate sacrifice. You know, we may not have known them all, but we do owe them all. Thank y'all for coming out. And Ben and the boys, thank you. It has been a gift of love for me too. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be part of it. At this time, we'd like to be introducing. You'll see there's in the programs, you know, there's bios on everyone. There's one on Command Sergeant Major Juan Chavez. I won't go into detail on him, but I will say this. There are people alive today from Desert Storm because of Command Sergeant Major Chavez's actions. And it's a wonder that he's still walking among us today with some of the horrific deeds that he did. Not horrific, but heroific. But that's not a word it should be. Juan was the Command Sergeant Major of the tank battalion I was in Desert Storm. An amazing man. An amazing man. Juan, come on up, brother.
Good morning. I was listening to the remarks being said by our honored guest and my friend Buddy. I can say Buddy, right? I don't have to say sorry. I can. Brigadier General or General. Buddy. And I was listening to the stories that some of the folks shared with me before we came up here to listen to all what's being said here. And I prepared a speech. Gosh, man. Buddy called me and says, I need you. And for some reason, every time he does that, I can't find myself saying it. And so this was one of those times as well. So I prepared a 3-pager right here. But listening to the stories and the comments that were being made earlier and the backgrounds of the people that are here compels me to modify that speech a lot, and compels me to say to you that the honor that I feel and the privilege that I feel right now being here with you. I haven't been to Houston in almost 14 years. I'm from Bryan College Station. But the honor that I feel and privilege to be here with you in this moment as we unveil the monument that honors our fallen comrades of Vietnam. I can just tell you that your efforts are a testament of the things that you learned in the military, and they're also a testament of the effects that serving our great country has had on your family, because a lot of family members are here whose brothers and sisters and fathers and grandfathers served, but they're no longer here, but they're here nonetheless. In spirit, they're here being supported by their relatives. So I join you in that honor. A lot has been said already about our Vietnam, the contribution of our Vietnam veterans. And I'll be honest, I probably couldn't do justice in speaking the finest words that some of you have already expressed. And in fact, throughout our nation, today, tomorrow, in the next few days, there will be some real eloquent speakers talking about that. So what I thought about is what is it that I would like to share with this folks here today? Well, I don't want to downplay the importance of what we're doing here, but instead what I'd like to do in my presentation is I'd like to talk to you, the folks that are here, that are still carrying the torch, even as Ben said, or somebody here said recently, over 50 years ago, you made a promise. You made a promise not to forget. You made a promise to always remember those soldiers. And you fight, as the young man did when he went to the mayor by himself. I think it was you, Dan. And you said, I need to talk to somebody. Something's got to happen. So that kind of spirit is what I'm talking about today. That kind of spirit that says, no, we're not going to forget. We're not going to forget the value and the cost of this sacrifice that this men or women paid. So as we look at this monument back here behind us, and we see, I believe, 544 men, and we see the names of 544 men, I can only say that it's been a long time coming. But thanks to the efforts of folks like Ben and everybody that's here, that it has come to a culmination. And here we are, for all to see. In fact, I want everybody, I personally hope that everybody that passes by that street out there, or that has a chance to come here on any day, has a time to walk out there and look at those names and realize that they're not just names. They are a testament to the price, the heavy price that is paid for that thing we call freedom.
Thank you, Lord.
And the thing that we call rights here in this great country of ours. And yes, I want them to see that it's not, that freedom is not free. Freedom costs us, sometimes the ultimate sacrifice. So, with that in mind, what I'd like to do is just kind of share a few moments with you. Buddy was talking about my time in the military, I spent nearly 27 years in the Army. And during that time, obviously, even a dumbbell like me learns a few things. And so I want to share with you a couple of things that I believe within these remarks you will find some similarity to some experiences that you yourself had in the military and can identify with this. So, as my bio reads, I was born to a migrant family. We were 9 kids, and we traveled all over the country following the cross. That's what we knew back then. From the lower Rio Grande Valley in Mission, Texas, all the way up to Idaho, picking potatoes, and Colorado in between, and California, and you name it, we did it all. And then we found ourselves back over here. Schools for me were like five, 6 different schools throughout the year, and so that's just the way my life was. Picking cotton was probably the biggest highlight of my life back in those days, and football. But back in 1968, I had shortly met my love, my sweetheart, and my life companion for 54 years. And shortly after we met, you guessed it, we got pregnant. I was 17 years old, and so was she, 17 years old. We didn't know what we were going to do. And she just looked at me like, you're in charge. Oh my God. So I told you that I was a pretty decent cotton picker, so I went to my foreman, Mr. Tomas, Senor Tomas, I remember him. And I talked to him and I said, kind of despondent, and I said, hey, I have a family, and there's a baby about to come by, and I don't know what to do. What advice can you give me to kind of better myself a little bit? And he looked at me with a very sincere look. I can still see him right now, Mr. Tomas. And he says, Johnny, you're possibly the best cotton picker I have. And he says, you know what? I suggest that you go buy a bigger sack so you can put more cotton into that bag. And I felt like, oh my God, man. So my shoulders went down and I felt like, oh my God, this is the best advice he's going to give me. Excuse me. So I decided to walk home and kind of think on that. And as I was walking down the streets of a little town called Ballinger, I noticed a sign on this big window that read, all medical bills paid for those that are qualified. And I thought, is God talking to me here? I need some help. And so like a big dummy, I walked in there, and you guessed it was a recruiting station. And I can still recall that recruiter look at me like he couldn't believe that I was walking in there on my own free will. Now you gotta remember, this is 1968. Vietnam was going strong. Draft was in effect, and draft dodging was a norm for a lot of folks. They were running to Canada and different countries. Protest in America was rampant. But I was there and I was talking to him, and the only thing I could think of was medical benefits. I mean, delivering of a baby at that time was like $500. And to me, that might as well have been $5 million. So when the recruiter said, all you have to do is join, I said, where do I sign? And I did. Later on, I thought, maybe I should somehow figure out a way to save that money. but nonetheless, I joined the Army in October of 1968. I did not go to Vietnam, but I told you that I wanted to share with you some of my experiences. But the two things that I'd like to share with you are the many values that I learned in the military. Some, in fact, most of them were already part of my life as we grew up in a large family. We had to love each other because, 9 of us, can you imagine? So loving a family and a family atmosphere like that was not new to me. So here I am in the induction center the morning that I joined the Army. As I rounded the corner to go to that building, I see a line almost from here to the street. And there's police officers holding that line, left and right. And then there's a bunch of young men out there, and they're chanting, "Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go." And they turn around, they look at me, and they say, "Run, man, run!" And I'm like, original Forrest Gump character, right? I'm like, the hell's wrong with these people? You know, don't they know this America? We're supposed to go fight for it? No. So, but anyway, I joined. In the military, I found a family atmosphere that was similar to mine. We cared for each other in my house, and I found that in the military, soldiers cared for each other. Sergeants cared for their soldiers. Officers cared for their men. And that's the kind of family that I wanted to be part of. That's the kind of family that I joined. And I thank the good Lord, I thank God that He gave me the opportunity to do that. From being a migrant worker, becoming a young sergeant, platoon sergeant, first sergeant, and ultimately a command sergeant major. And later on, gain some of those benefits, educational benefits, that allow you to graduate from what I consider to be the greatest educational institution in America, Texas A&M. And so, what I want to say to you here is, I said that I wanted to share two principles. One is love, the other one is loyalty. The fact that this monument stands back here is because of you. So today, I want to honor you. Today, I want to say, you did not fall. Thank God that you didn't, but you did not forget. And so I had to take my hat off to you. I respect you. By I guess it was, I don't know, sometime when I was a young Sergeant E5, I thought that I was God's gift to the Army by now. I mean, I was a strike trooper, looked good all the time. Saturdays were the time that we used for inspections. And if you did well, you got off. Some of you guys that are here remember those days. Saturdays were inspection days, and you tried to look good so you could go home early. So there I was, first squad leader. My platoon sergeant was in front of me. And all of a sudden I see the platoon sergeant shaking, you know, like he was having some convulsions. And it was easy for me to make a remark to my squad. And I said, "We've got an alcoholic for a platoon sergeant." No sooner did I say that, when I felt the paw of a huge hand grab me from the back of my neck and pull me into the building. I mean, half dragging me and pushing me and kicking me. And he takes me in his office and he slams me. It was the biggest Puerto Rican first sergeant that I have ever met in my life. This guy, huge, First Sergeant Figueroa, had a real heavy accent. And I don't know the word what he meant by the word, but he used the word called, or that he said was malafunca. I know it has a close relationship to other words that we've heard in the past. But malafunca is stayed ingrained in my mind. But he slams me against the wall and he says, "Let me tell you something, you malafunca." You see that platoon sergeant out there? You know nothing about your platoon sergeant. Your platoon sergeant and I just came back from a tour in Vietnam. We had great losses in that tour. Your platoon sergeant is a Silver Star recipient. He was credited for saving over 20 lives. He says, yes, he has an alcohol problem now. But when he came back, he developed that. And that's the way he deals with his demons. But that guy out there loves you. You're his soldier, he's platoon, and he would give his life for you if the need ever came to that. And as he dismissed me, after many more malafuncas, as he dismissed me, he says, next time, don't let some alligator mouse make your behind something bad. I learned later on what that meant too. But what I learned that day from the first sergeant was that perceptions and first impressions are not necessarily what they are. You never know. You never know who you're dealing with. And instead, you should find the qualities, the special qualities that make that person special. And work within those qualities with each other. Buddy was talking about the sense of Iraq. To illustrate what I just said, we had a young soldier, Sergeant First Class, out there in Iraq. And Buddy, you remember him well. He was the epitome image of an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Big, huge guy. And fearless looking. Everybody thought he's a bad dude. Well, as we got the announcement to move across the line and prepared for combat engagements, he cowered out on us. He wouldn't go. And I looked at him and I talked about perceptions and I said, wow, that was a shock to me. In contrast, the next day when we were in actual engagements, we were in a battlefield, I looked over to my left and there's a young Hispanic guy, young soldier, and he's chewing tobacco. And he looks at me and says, "Hey, Sergeant Major." She throws tobacco down. He's got a 50 caliber and he's firing away. And I'm looking at him and he's got a big smile. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, man, what a difference between the last guy that I saw yesterday and this guy. So perceptions and first impressions are not always what they seem. So, shortly thereafter, we got a call that came through the net, the command net. And the call was that we had a KIA and litter urgents. Litter urgents means wounded, you know. And as a command sergeant major, I was a free agent. I had no commander except for my big boss, and he was engaged in the battle. But I had nobody to tell me, stay behind, go there, or what. So I was up there in front, again, like a big Forrest Gump. I was up there in front with the tanks engaged in a Humvee. And as I hear that call, I looked at my driver. And he must have thought I was crazy because I said, "Macon, turn the vehicle around, let's go get that track over there, medical track, we're gonna go get those guys." And he looked at me like, "What? You serious?" So we proceeded to go and get those wounded. As we were going through all this artillery and fire coming down on us and tanks firing and you name it, smoke, just real chaos, real horrible chaos. As we're going through all that, I remember seeing distinctly a quad 50. Might have been a quad 51, some of you guys may recall it. But they were firing. And I could see the guy cranking his plate so that he could track us and maybe hit us. And I was so scared because I knew that sooner or later he was going to catch us and line us up and fire us up. And so I took my .45 and I fired in his direction blindly. And all of a sudden, that quad 50 exploded up in the air. And I thought, whoa, you know, that's almost 45 caliber. But honestly, I think it was a tank round that got him. But I thank God as we got to the wounded, I thank God for his intervention. And I thank him for giving me the courage and intestinal fortitude to be able to do something like that. As I was in that moment in that battlefield, I remember that I wasn't sure where the big medics were at. I'm talking about the doctors and I'm talking about the hospitals and all that. We had moved on so much forward. And I was out there a little confused and not sure of what I was going to do. And all of a sudden I hear, again on the command net, still 7, still 7. This is still 4. And pardon me if I get a little emotional. But still 4 was my S4, my logistics man, my captain. That S4 was unbroken. To me, it was like an angel calling amidst all this stuff. And I hear, I got the location set up ready for you to bring the wounded. And I said, thank God, thank God. So later on, after the whole battle was over and everything, I was asked, Sergeant Major, why were you up there in front with nothing but a Humvee and a 45? And I'm like, I don't know. Probably pretty dumb. But my answer then, and it still remains right now, as it is with a lot of you soldiers, and the testament that you have this monument behind you, is that you made a promise. You made a promise to those that you work with, that you would not leave them behind. And if necessary, you would go out there and put your life in their defense. And that's my answer to them, was that I loved them and I was going to be loyal. Just like that platoon sergeant and first sergeant taught me a long time back then. So, here we are. We did not fall in battle then. And again, thanks that we did. But we don't forget those that did. But it is with the spirit of love that you have for those memories and those soldiers that you served with that compels you to walk up to the highest office in the city of Houston and say, you gotta listen. And all of you that are here. And by the way, I want to recognize the folks that, not necessarily that fought in this event, this war. We're all Americans. We're all made up of different coalitions of soldiers, Koreans, Vietnamese, Austrians, you name it. And I see a complement of some of our Vietnamese soldiers here. And the fact that they're here means that we should not forget them. So be proud that you had the opportunity to serve with them. Take the positive things that you learned from those young soldiers, non-commissioned officers, and men. Continue to use those characteristics in your character. Embed them. If they haven't been embedded so much, embed them now. It's never too late. Add them to your character. That's what made me a command sergeant major that I hope that I became for the better of my soldiers. And I think you also had the opportunity to learn that way as well. Thank you very much.
Just real quick, reminisce thing. I ended up, right after I retired from active duty, coming to Houston to help at the Astrodome with the Katrina evacuees, and ended up being in charge of the housing operations and getting them settled and resettled. And I knew I needed somebody to help me the day the mayor and the county judge put me in charge. And so I talked to a company that would hire, and I said, I need you to call Juan Chavez, and I tell him I need him here at 0600 in the morning. And he was there at 0600 in the morning. And did great things for the city, the county, and the folks. Thank you, Juan. At this time, I would like to honor and bring up Commissioner Adrian Garcia, Precinct 2. You know, when we started this project, this was the city of Houston Park, and we worked with Councilmember Cisneros and the hierarchy, and then there was this arrangement after we got everything agreed to that Precinct 2 is now going to take over the operational control of this park. Normally you would think, oh, man, another level of bureaucracy. But no, that's not the way I felt. Because I knew Adrian from working with him as a council member and as a sheriff, both helping put the World War II monument, which unfortunately has been defaced, but it's being fixed. In fact, the artist Rosalind is here. Wave, Rosa. Anyway, sir, thank you so much for your help.
Thank you, buddy. Let's give it up for Buddy. I love me somebody. Don't we all? Right? And we're very grateful. Thank you for all that you've done. Chief Chavez, let's give it. Where are you? Let's give it up. Let's give it up for him again. And I'll tell you why you were there. And everybody was asking what you were doing there. You were leading from the front. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your heroism. Councilmember, thank you for joining us. Thank you to all the city officials here. Before I make any remarks, I do want to make sure to recognize some very key folks that helped to facilitate this process. You see, when I understood what was happening here, and Ben, you were working tirelessly to raise the money for this particular project, and once we understood what was afoot through Jose Jimenez, I wanted to make sure that all the skids were greased as well as possible, buddy. And so I want to first thank, at that time he was my engineer, but now he's our engineer, the Harris County engineer, Dr. Milton Rahman. And the young lady who helped to make this work even better is this young lady over here, Gina Ford, architect over at the County Engineering Department. Thank you, Gina. And I also just want to thank the entire Precinct 2 engineering team. Byron's a veteran. Byron Acevedo, we call him Goose. It's an inside story, but he's more of a maverick these days than a goose. And then Tino Benavides, my chief engineer now. All of the Precinct 2 engineering department, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done to make this project take place. And to our Vietnam veterans, Ben, let me just say that I couldn't be more humbled and proud to see this monument erected. For the way that this nation did not welcome you home. I want to make sure that this monument unequivocally expresses the fact that wherever you may be, Precinct 2 will always be your home. And we will always welcome you here with open arms, with open hearts, with an immense gratitude for your service, for your bravery, for your sacrifices, for all that you did for us in a very, very difficult time in our country. But I also want to thank our guests here, members of the Vietnam Army and military. Let's give them a nice round of applause. So they stood next to us and were as unrelenting as our folks were. And so we will always be grateful to you as well. But 500 veterans from the Houston area will be honored on this monument. And this monument, as I mentioned and as we know, Ben was the guy twisting the arms, tackling the people, getting that money raised. But I want to again recognize Bobby Schlitzberger, his daughters, the family, the company. Let's stand, please stand, guys, and be recognized. Thank you, and thank you. Most of you have probably have heard my story and the story of the military. My sister married a first lieutenant, and I looked at his uniform. He looked a lot like Buddy, and I said, man, I like that uniform. How do I get one of those? And so he quickly gave me some orientation and told me that you go and enlist, but make sure you know what your MOS is going to be. And so as I went through the process, and make sure your MOS is on your contract before you sign. And so I went through the process and got accepted for the Warrant Officer Flight Program. And then on the day that I was going to go and enlist, the phone rang as I was locking my door, and it was the Houston Police Department, Steve, that was calling to let me know that I had been accepted to the police academy. And as I listened to the conversation of you've been accepted, and then here I was dressed to go to the mall to go sign my contract, I called my father. I said, Dad, what do I do? And my dad, without missing a beat, said, if we're in war, you go. And I said, well, we're not in war, Dad. And he goes, well, stay home. That's how close it got. Because that conversation, from the time I hung up with the recruiter to the time I called my dad and hung up with him, it probably a span of about 5 to 10 minutes. That's how close it got. And so I'm proud that I served in a uniform, but it's always been a life's regret that I did not serve alongside you in the uniform of our nation's finest. And so through the opportunities that I've been blessed with, I try to make good to my commitment to this nation that's been so good to my family, and doing all that I can to always honor all of our veterans, all of our active veterans, all of our Gold Star families, is to ensure that, you know, movies sometimes have an impact on you. And Saving Private Ryan had an impact on me, especially that scene where Ryan is asking, I don't get choked up on this one, he's asking his wife to say, tell me I'm a good man, tell me I've lived a good life, tell me that I've done well. Because so many people died for him. And so with the opportunities that I've been blessed, it is with that kind of thought and spirit in mind that I do the work that I do. And I will never forget that first Veterans Day parade that I was in as a rookie council member. And I was, quite frankly, mad, because there was more parade than there were people. And I came back and I yanked on Mayor White, and I said, Mayor, you need to put the full weight of, what part of your anatomy into next year's parade. People got to know it is their obligation to honor our veterans on Veterans Day. And buddy, you were an immense help to ensure that our city remembers that it has an obligation to our veterans. And so I am so proud of that. Now I'll close on a couple of points. I try not to be that preacher that writes a short sermon but forgets to stop.
We already had.
But I want to close on a couple of points. Number one is to say that the future of this park is just beginning. We have, through our master planning process, have a program of approximately $15 million that will come to this park. And for those of you who voted for the park now, thank you. And that's where some of this money is going to be going. Secondly, I want to thank my team, and I do not see Cassie. Where's Cassie? Cassie, are you here? She's right around. How about Lorenzo? Where's Lorenzo? Lorenzo, give it up for these guys. They are the best veteran services office team in the entire state of Texas. Thank you. I mentioned yesterday at another event that they, in just 1 year, they have provided benefit services to over 1,100 veterans that have come through our office. Give them up. Give them another round of applause. And the last point that I want to close on is that as much as this monument is to honor the past and to ensure that the phrase "you will never be forgotten" is not just something that we say. We also have to look to the future. And we also have to hold up and applaud and celebrate and embrace and nurture the future. And I was mentioned by this particular commander of his ROTC squadron that these two young folks right behind me, Eric Jimenez and Jasmine Nava. Oh, there she is. She took a break. And Eric is leaving us to West Point. And Jasmine will follow him next year. Doesn't the future of our nation's military look good? We're excited. We're excited. Thank you. We honor you. Thank you. I'm excited to inaugurate this monument. Again, thanking everyone for their contributions to seeing this happen. But all of the thanks and respect and honor goes to all of our Vietnam veterans who served, made it back. And I saw my friend Ben Reyes somewhere around here. He's a former city council member, but my friend, because I remember reading an article as a young kid as they were talking about Ben Reyes, and the way they described him made me understand the Vietnam War, even at a younger age, even better. The wording was something like, Ben Reyes came home from Vietnam angry because of the lack of a welcome. Not so much for him, but for his family. Let's just say again, you're always honored. You will always be respected. Forgive those who did not know better. But here, this monument will celebrate your contributions to our nation and always reflect and honor your sacrifices. God bless you. God bless America. I got one more piece of business, and that is Ben, come on up, buddy. No, you're not that old, man. Buddy, I want you to stand over here as well. Ben, you get in the middle, please. This is a proclamation simply to honor not only Ben Gutierrez, but also to honor the Vietnam Combat Veterans Association for all of their work, their tenacity, in seeing this monument become a reality. Congratulations, Ben. Thank you for all you've done.
thank you so much, sir, for everything that you did. Yeah, I know I need to lose some. Trying to push things along some, but we could not have developed a wonderful relationship during this project with the Vietnamese community without an important conduit. And at this time, I'd like Dr. Hoa Ky to please come up. Did I lose him? Dr. Hoa Ky? Hoa Ky? All right. You. If I mention your name, you know, I have worked hard to get rid of my Texas drawl, but Bubba, you got one.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's this beautiful, precious time here. I was honored to have a few words here. I'm just a little brother to Vietnam veterans. And a few years ago, my one of my Vietnam Combat Veteran Association came to me at the air show, and he introduced himself, and he asked me if I would be a part of this project. I said, I'm nobody here, but I do what I could to be part of it, and be proud of it, and be honored to be part of it. And thank you very much to Vietnam Combat Veterans Association. But I have few things to say about Vietnam veterans. My Vietnam veterans, I saw you there. I saw you in my village, scouting and fighting the enemy. I saw you protecting my village and making me and all the children laugh. I saw you helping the sick and the injured Vietnamese people. You are our angels. You are our angels. The United States military had never lost a major battle during the Vietnam War. The United States military left Vietnam on the order of its politicians. And I was one of million Vietnamese left behind after the fall of Saigon. But I saw Vietnam veterans. The images of our Vietnam veterans are always in my mind. After lived with the brutal regime, I escaped with 11 attempts and trying to follow the footsteps of what our Vietnam veterans have been fighting for, freedom. Thank you. Thank you so much. When Brother Dave came to me, and I was part of this project, and we went around and tried to promote the words for this project. We are hand in hand. Before then, before 75, the U.S. military was side by side with South Vietnamese officers. They stood up together. When I was with the Vietnam Combat Veteran Association, I would thought of that. It was so beautiful and meaningful. And he was leading me like a little brother. Here we go. We're trying to do something meaningful to honor, respect, and thank you for freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, please, today, we also have the Vietnamese community with us all. And we will hope and we will see the endeavor of to
community, Vietnamese American community and Vietnam veteran community all together, we can promote more meaningful. And we will tell them that what is the sacred meaning of freedom. We have 544 names on this wall today. But this representing more than 58,000 names on the sacred wall in Washington, D.C. And thank you for freedom. And my Vietnam veterans, welcome home, welcome home.
And welcome home to you too. We're so glad to have you, my American. A couple of quick thank yous and we'll move on. Sam Houston High School Junior ROTC program, thank you for helping out. You know, when we put that flag down, there wasn't a moment of hesitation in these youngsters' movement. And just so you know, I myself got my start at Milby as a mighty Milby musket ROTC. My mom went to Milby too. It's been a gift of love. It's been an honor to work with this group to get this done, and I'm so glad that they asked me. I'm going to change the menu up just a little bit here, and Chaplain, if you will give us a benediction, then I'll close, and then we'll do the tap. Please rise.
And we bow together for our prayer. Our gracious and almighty God, as we close this special dedication and sacred time, remembering our fallen warriors in Vietnam, we pray for those who remember and grieve and face every day with a strong sense of loss. We know that grief is the price of love. So we pray, Father, that you grant healing and memories for those who lit candles in cathedrals seemingly in vain, who tied yellow ribbons on trees and posts that their loved ones never saw, and who wept as wounded ones when their worst fears were realized. Oh, Father, would you grant healing and hope for future reunion. Finally, dear Lord, grant eternal rest for all those whose names are inscribed here, and for those you've called to yourself since the war ended. And let us not forget those who never return. And Father, may we ourselves, each of us, be found faithful to the calling granted to us, is our prayer in your name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Chaplain. It's very meaningful. You know, just want to thank you, Juan, for coming back down. We were going to lunch one day with some reporters, and one of them said, "Hey, I'd like to tell you about how I demonstrated against the Vietnam War." And Juan looked at her just as politely as can be. He goes, you and I can have that conversation, but we'll never be friends again. Thank you for being here. Color guard, prepare to present taps and rifle volley. Shortly after I retired from the Army, the Congress redid the flag laws so retired officers could salute the flag. And we were like, well, what about the rest of us? You serve for one day, you're a vet. The next year they changed it so we all salute. So remember, you have that, not only Congress says it, if you know to do it in your heart. the veterans. Attend, hut. Present arms. Order, arms. This brings to a close the ceremony. I thank you again that all that could be here. Please spend as long as you want out here at the monument today. Thank you, and we're all dismissed. Hold on. Pardon me.
I want to thank everybody that showed up out here today. But mostly, I want to thank my guys from the BCVA. They've been with me since 2013, but now they're good. They did a great job, guys. Couldn't have done it without y'all.
If we can have everybody who is up at the podium today and all of the Vietnam veterans, please come forward for the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, you won it.
Frank, Price 55.
81.
My mother was.
Can I check with you?
Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, I saw you earlier. And yeah, on the other side. All right, you see your name? Yeah, no, I haven't gone up there. I'm gonna go check it out.
I'm with the 80s.
Thank you.
Right. Now you remember me? Này có khả năng chị bản tính con cái này. Never here. Là cái này cái con cuối của anh. Không, cái này nha. Không có khăn tới được nhưng mà chị hôm trước khi mà chị chuyển chị ngồi chị muốn một miếng đất xong rồi chị định là bây giờ rất là nó dạy chị á tại Vietnamese Community Development Center mà mình đi trễ mình đi trễ mà hello em cơ đẹp không? Hello chị Quế. Đang quay hả? Đó đi em quay về. Về trước hả? Không đi ăn hả? Không chị đi chạy với vậy hả? Hello. Dạ. Em đang bận ở buổi lễ rồi có gì chút nữa ra em gọi lại.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm talking about. Oh yeah, all the time. Hey, welcome back again. That's it.
You want to come in?
Yes.
Nè, mấy chị, look in here.
Since I can't do the birthday.
Next year.
Next year.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Well, let's get you with the rental.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Got
Well, they kind of got the bottom right.
I'm gonna go out.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay.
You guys look wonderful. We look forward to seeing you. How are you?
Okay, one more.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you? Good. You look amazing. Oh, you
Wait.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
All right, Arthur.
Hey, you celebrating birthday today?
Yeah.
All right.
You gonna take it easy?
I am.
That's a shame. Why did they wait so long before we said about the bar?
And then you take with y'all when I come back. Yeah, that's
Dạ, đi về trước. Dạ, bài chị.
All you have to do is look for the flag. That's where he's at. If you walk straight, that's where he's at.
Okay. Well, I will meet him over there.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
He going to
Thank you anh. Ô, mình ra đây. Các bạn thành kìa. Sao khách trễ quá ha. Em không biết thì chị cũng đâu biết đâu phải không?
Ừ, đúng rồi, em đi
Có chụp hình chị kia rồi cắt luôn á hả?
bà mày thành nhảy rồi.
Bởi vậy lẹ ha. Mình ra sớm được rồi. Đấy, đúng rồi.
Like the Special Forces flag. Very good. Thank you for your service. What is this? Your next generation. Great. You look beautiful and you represent it well.
Mấy chị Quế La đâu rồi? Cô Quế La đâu rồi?
Không biết nữa. Chị Quế La hình như chị về rồi.
Có đây nè, ngồi đây nè, con cuối cùng mà. Chị nói chị đi về á.
That's just their personality.
Just me.
Here you go.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, oh, it's right there. All right, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
There you go. We'll see you. They're born all the way.
I'm with this beautiful lady next to you.
Yeah. Come on. You got it?
I got it right here.
Right there, right there.
One more right here. Right here.
Thank you.
Ready? One more. Right here. Got it.
Hey, Ricky.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Thank you very much.
You over there? I know. Just go right on. Ready?
One in the suit.
One more. Okay. One more. Thank you very much. Two more.
Of course I will. Here we go.
Take my hat off. Come on.
Yes.
That was his first outstation with USA. From there, he went into Iraq. They trained him to repairs out on the road. He said some of it got a little interesting. Right now,
You see it? Yeah. You can put that on your resume. Yeah. Check this out here. This is my brother-in-law.
He's ready. Yes, he's ready. Find somebody else.
Bobby has I asked him what he was going to do now that it was over.
Young Sergeant. I noticed you got that lady back. Good bunch. Where are you working with? You know the story. I did my student. Hoa Ky. I know you got a lot of it. Well, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, right. And after he got out, he said, I didn't realize how bad my PTSD was until I realized I would go someplace with friends and I would be standing back in the corner with my back against the wall.
One missing this item. I found it over there by the tent.
I done. Alan Perfect.
Be blessed.
Happy Veterans Day.
Okay, I think my ride's leaving.
Right tomorrow.
I started. I'm not
Okay, give me just a minute.
Right there,
Everybody else figured it out.
Rick, when you started Georgia Street, I'm 35 years.
Is that right? Oh, yeah?
I was a minor, man.
You were out there picking cotton too?
Minnesota, Sugar Beach, and California, you name it. Like, when you started that, I was like, yeah, we just followed.
We were troqueros.
Oh, yeah, no, our dad would get us out of
That was unique for Christmas.
That was funny.
He said, but it's true. It was like, if you do a good job, they expect you to do more. But you know, and then the guy that does a mediocre job, you never say that. Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, but it was like,
So you from the Valley originally?
permission. But then we moved over.
It was all the same families from that area on the radio around going to all the
kéo cái cây tới không có hồi mất tiêu luôn á.
À đúng rồi.
Bởi vậy.
Đây này, giờ mấy ông lên đây này.
Nhờ đi chị nói đi. Em đi kiếm cái tên của em đâu.
Em nằm đâu?
Tại vì em có trong đây mà. À hả? Em có cái tên. Em có cái tên em trong đây mà không biết nó nằm đâu nữa. Tên để phải. À hả? Tên trong cái bảng.
We met.
Thầy có chưa? Đúng rồi, chụp với bản đồ Việt Nam á.
Whatever way you I want to be close to you though. Let me stand in front of you.
All right, guys.
Yeah. Oh, I see it. I am. Okay. Hai chị
Thấy rồi, em có tên rồi này.
Tay lại rồi, thầy che bên đây rồi, thầy lấy cái tay đó. Tên của ba em á.
I don't know. He's gonna drop me off.
But I was gonna say he was in 95. Nãy giờ con kiếm nó là nó nằm trên đây nè, vô nó kiếm. Con nằm đâu hết nữa. Không có đâu. Chắc như vậy á. Tại vì những người nào là những người ủng hộ thì này con có lên
Có nhị thì khác rồi là không biết chụp.
I would have been on this. Maybe I'll fix it.
There's the American Legion chapel.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to take it to my house. Let me go get rồi, cái để về lại đi. That's my day. Oh, the sun. Yeah. Oh. Coi chú Rê á. Bên trong đây nè. Rồi ở Việt Kiếm thì mà em có chưa thấy.
Got a lot of education.
Start arriving at 7:30.
Mấy ba để em làm cho vậy. Rồi.
I joined up with David and turned out they're all Bobby and Jessica were connected. Didn't have the dream.
Bobby had to work for all the men.
They made it.
So many VFW in America, everywhere else.
They didn't make them do.
Rồi chụp cho chị đi, chút nữa chụp. Em đang chụp hết mấy cái bạn. Không thấy được đâu.
Whatever he tells us. Yeah, Saigon is the only thing I know.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, how about
Okay, Dan.
I slipped, fell on the floor, and crushed my knee. Thank you. Because they had to do surgery, they had to wrap the kneecap in.